While I was driving my wife and her friends to their spa weekend getaway, I heard her voice float up from the back seat. She said, clear as day, honestly, he's like a rescue dog. You feed him, he wags his tail. So easy to control. The car went dead quiet for a second except for their laughter that followed like a slap to the face. When we finally pulled up to the place, she didn't even bother to thank me. Just slammed the door behind her and tossed a parting shot over her shoulder. Don't forget to wash the sheets before I get back. They stink like you. I drove the whole 5 hours back home in total silence. And then yesterday, out of nowhere, she showed up at my front door in tears, begging me to talk. Honestly, I don't even know where to begin with all this. I'm still trying to wrap my head around everything that went down over the weekend. My hands are literally shaking as I type this. Avery and I have been married 8 years now, both in our mid-30s, and I thought we were doing okay. Not perfect, sure, but normal enough, you know? Last Friday started off just like any other morning. Woke up around 5:30 a.m., made myself a coffee, scrolled aimlessly through my phone while Avery slept in upstairs. For the past couple of years, we've each had our own morning routines. She always said my early wake-ups messed with her sleep schedule, so we compromised with separate alarms. Fine by me. Anything to keep the peace, right? Around 8, I heard her moving around upstairs, her Bluetooth speaker blasting music like usual. She was packing for that fancy spa weekend she'd been hyped about for months. And honestly, I was happy for her. She deserved a break. Hell, we all do sometimes. She came downstairs lugging her designer overnight bag, you know, the one I bought her last Christmas that cost me more than a truck payment, and casually dropped the news that her friend's husband had bailed on driving them. Then came the real reason she was buttering me up. Would I mind driving them instead? It's just 5 hours each way, she said, and I'd have the whole weekend to myself once I dropped them off. I hesitated. That's a lot of miles in one day, and I already had plans to meet my buddy Caleb for a fishing trip on Saturday. But then Avery did that thing, tilted her head, gave me that look, and just like always, I caved. That little moment becomes pretty important later. So by 10 a.m., there I was, behind the wheel, Avery riding shotgun, and her 3 friends, Maya, Sierra, and Jenna, crammed in the back with their bags and a cooler full of snacks. The first hour wasn't too bad. Music playing, everyone laughing and catching up on whatever. I mostly kept to myself, focusing on the road while they gossiped about people I didn't even know. By the 3rd hour, they'd already knocked back 2 of those pre-mixed margarita pouches you can snag at gas stations. They weren't drunk exactly, but they were loud enough to start forgetting I was even there. And that's when it happened. They got onto the topic of relationships and marriage. Maya started venting about her boyfriend, how she has to nag him for every little thing. And then Avery, my wife, just casually drops, honestly, he's like a rescue dog. You feed him, he wags his tail. So easy to control. The air inside the car froze for a second, just 3 solid seconds of dead silence. And then they all burst out laughing. Every single one of them. I felt my hands lock up on the steering wheel so tight, my knuckles turned white. But I didn't say a word. Just stared at the road ahead, pretending I hadn't heard it, even though my face was probably burning. They must have realized I'd heard because they quickly changed the subject. But honestly, the damage was already done. For the next 2 hours, those words just looped over and over in my mind. Rescue dog. So easy to control. 8 years. 8 freaking years together, and that's how she sees me? Some pathetic pet she trained to obey? I kept driving, answering whatever questions they threw my way with one-word replies, but inside, I was just numb. When we finally rolled up to that fancy mountain resort, all glass walls and stone buildings, the kind of place that probably charges more per night than my mortgage, Avery and her friends scrambled out with their stuff. I stepped out to help, but they already had it. Avery didn't even glance back at me. She just tossed a parting comment over her shoulder, don't forget to wash the sheets before I get back. They stink like you. And then she laughed. They all laughed. I just stood there next to my truck, people rushing past me with their suitcases and ski gear, feeling like I'd been sucker punched. 8 years of marriage, and the only thing she had for me after 10 hours of driving was that. No thank you. No appreciation. Just sheets stink like you. The drive home was brutal. 5 hours alone with nothing but my own thoughts. No music. No podcasts. Just the hum of tires on pavement and the mess inside my head. Every little fight, every so-called compromise we'd ever made started replaying itself like a movie. Only now it all looked different. Had she been controlling me this whole time? I thought about how I gave up my weekly guys' nights because she said they were childish. How we always spent holidays with her family, never mine, because apparently my side's too chaotic. How the bonus I earned last year, money I wanted to spend fixing up my project car, somehow turned into buying brand new kitchen appliances instead. By the time I pulled into our driveway, it was creeping up on midnight. And somehow the house felt different, colder, emptier. I wandered from room to room, really looking at everything for the first time. How there wasn't a single photo of my family anywhere on the walls. How my stuff was tucked away in drawers while her knickknacks and decorations were everywhere. Even the damn coffee maker sitting on the counter, it was the exact model she wanted, not the one I picked out. As I was driving my wife and her friends out to their spa weekend, I caught her voice drifting up from the back seat. Clear as day, she said, honestly, he's like a rescue dog. You feed him, he wags his tail. So easy to control. The car fell into a dead silence for a second, just the hum of the tires, until their laughter broke out, sharp and cutting. When we finally pulled up at the resort, she didn't even bother to thank me. Just slammed the door shut behind her and tossed a final jab over her shoulder. Don't forget to wash the sheets before I get back. They stink like you. I made the long 5-hour drive back home completely alone with my thoughts. No music. No podcasts. Just the empty road and the heavier emptiness inside me. Then yesterday, like something out of a bad dream, she showed up at my door crying, begging me to talk to her. And honestly, I'm still trying to figure out where to even begin. Still trying to piece together everything that went down. Right now, my hands are literally shaking while I type this. Avery and I have been married 8 years, both of us in our mid-30s, and up until now, I really thought we were okay. Not perfect, no marriages, but normal. Solid enough. At least, that's what I told myself. Last Friday kicked off just like any normal day. I was up at 5:30 a.m., made a pot of coffee, and scrolled through my phone while Avery slept upstairs without a care in the world. For a couple of years now, we've had separate morning routines. She always said my early mornings threw off her sleep, so we settled on separate alarms. No big deal. Whatever kept the peace. Around 8, I heard her moving around upstairs, her Bluetooth speaker blasting music loud enough to shake the walls. She was packing for that spa weekend she'd been planning for what felt like forever. And truth be told, I was happy for her. We all need a break now and then. She came downstairs dragging her designer overnight bag behind her, the one I surprised her with last Christmas, the one that cost more than a month of payments on my truck. That's when she casually dropped the news that her friend's husband had backed out of driving them. And then, almost like she'd practiced it, she hit me with the real ask. Would I mind driving them instead? It's just 5 hours each way, she said with a smile, and then you'll have the whole weekend to yourself. I hesitated. 5 hours up, 5 hours back, it wasn't nothing. Plus, I had plans to meet Caleb for our fishing trip Saturday morning. But then she tilted her head, gave me that look she always does, and just like that I folded. Same as always. That little moment, well, it turns out that mattered more than I realized. By 10 a.m., I was behind the wheel with Avery riding shotgun and her 3 friends, Maya, Sierra, and Jenna, packed in the back seat, surrounded by duffel bags and a cooler full of snacks. The first hour passed by fine. Music playing, the girls chatting and laughing, catching up on whatever. I kept quiet, my eyes on the road, while they swapped stories about people I didn't even know. By hour 3, they had already put away 2 of those gas station margarita pouches. They weren't sloppy drunk, but they were loud enough to start acting like I wasn't even there. And that's when it happened. They started venting about their relationships, their boyfriends, their husbands. Maya was complaining that her boyfriend never listened unless she practically yelled. And that's when Avery, my wife, the woman I'd given 8 years of my life to, chimed in. Honestly, she said, laughing, he's like a rescue dog. You feed him, he wags his tail. So easy to control. For a split second, the whole car went silent. Dead silent. And then, just like that, they all burst out laughing. I could feel my hands clench tighter around the steering wheel until my knuckles turned ghost white. But I didn't say a word. Just stared straight ahead, pretending it didn't happen, even though my whole face was probably lit up red with humiliation. I guess they realized I heard because they quickly shifted the conversation to something else. But at that point, it didn't matter. The damage was done. For the next 2 hours, those words just played on repeat in my head like a broken record. Rescue dog. So easy to control. 8 years. 8 damn years together, and that's what I am to her? Some dumb much she trained to obey? I kept driving, answering their random questions with one-word grunts, but inside, I wasn't even there. I was somewhere else. Numb. When we finally pulled up to the resort, all sleek glass and fancy stonework, the kind of place that probably charges more per night than my monthly mortgage, Avery and her friends hopped out with their stuff without so much as a glance back at me. I climbed out too, thinking maybe I could at least help unload their bags. But they didn't need me. They already had it covered. Avery didn't even turn around. She just tossed out one last comment over her shoulder, "Don't forget to wash the sheets before I get back. They stink like you." And then she laughed. And her friends laughed too. I just stood there next to my truck watching people swarm around the resort entrance, their luggage rolling behind them. And I felt hollow, like someone had just socked me right in the gut. 8 years together. And that's what I got? No thank you. No gratitude. Just an insult about my smell and a laugh. The drive back home felt endless. 5 hours of open road, and I didn't even bother with music or a podcast to fill the silence. It was just me and my own miserable thoughts. Every argument, every little compromise we'd ever made started running through my head like scenes from a bad movie. Only now I saw it all differently. Had she been pulling the strings this whole time? I thought about how I'd given up my guys' nights because she said they were immature. How we always spent every single holiday with her family because mine was too chaotic. How last year's bonus money I wanted to sink into fixing up my project car somehow disappeared into upgrading the kitchen appliances instead. By the time I finally pulled into the driveway, it was almost midnight. And somehow the house looked different. It felt different. Colder. Empty. I wandered from room to room, seeing things with fresh eyes. Not a single photo of my family anywhere. All my stuff shoved into drawers or closets, out of sight. Her decorations, her furniture, her choices everywhere. Even the damn coffee maker sitting on the counter, the one she insisted on getting, mocked me in a way I couldn't ignore anymore. While I was driving Avery and her friends to their big spa weekend, I caught her voice rising from the back seat, clear as a bell. She said, plain as day, "Honestly, he's like a rescue dog. Feed him, he wags his tail. So easy to control." For a second, the car went stone-cold silent, only the tires humming on the road. Then their laughter exploded, sharp and cutting like a slap. When we finally pulled up to the resort, she didn't even look my way. She slammed the door shut and flung one last insult over her shoulder. "Don't forget to wash the sheets before I get back. They stink like you." I made the 5-hour drive back home alone. No music, no distractions, just the hum of the highway and the way my chest felt hollow. Then yesterday, like some twisted surprise, she showed up at my front door. Crying. Begging me to talk. And honestly, I still don't even know where to start. I'm sitting here trying to process everything, hands shaking as I type this out. Avery and I have been married 8 years. We're both in our mid-30s. And up until this weekend, I thought maybe not perfect, but normal. Stable enough. Or at least that's the lie I was telling myself. Last Friday started out like any other day. I was up by 5:30 a.m. brewing coffee and mindlessly scrolling through my phone while she slept upstairs, not a care in the world. We've had our separate morning routines for a couple years now. She always said my early mornings messed with her sleep, so we agreed, separate alarms, separate rhythms. Anything for a little peace. Around 8, I heard her stirring upstairs, her Bluetooth speaker thumping out loud music. She was packing for that spa weekend she'd been looking forward to for months. Honestly, I was glad for her. Everyone needs a break now and then. She came downstairs dragging her fancy designer overnight bag, the one I saved up for and gave her last Christmas, the one that cost more than one of my truck payments. And that's when she dropped it on me. Apparently, her friend's husband bailed on driving. And now, would I mind stepping in? "It's just 5 hours each way," she said, flashing a sweet smile. "You'll have the whole weekend to yourself." I hesitated. 10 hours behind the wheel in one day wasn't exactly my idea of relaxing. Besides, I had plans with my buddy Caleb, our Saturday fishing trip we'd been planning for weeks. But then she did what she always does, tilted her head, gave me that look, and just like that, I folded. Same old story. That moment, me caving like always, that mattered more than I realized at the time. By 10 a.m. I was driving us north, Avery up front, and her 3 friends, Maya, Sierra, and Jenna, squeezed in the back, surrounded by bags and snacks. The first hour wasn't bad. The girls chatted, laughed, caught up. I kept my mouth shut and stayed focused on the road while they talked about people I didn't even know. By the 3rd hour, they'd polished off 2 of those gas station margarita pouches. Not hammered, but buzzed enough to forget I was even in the car. And that's when it happened. They started complaining about their men, boyfriends, husbands, you name it. Maya griped that her boyfriend wouldn't lift a finger unless she yelled at him. And then Avery, my wife, laughed and dropped her little gem. "Honestly, he's like a rescue dog. Feed him and he wags his tail. So easy to control." For a heartbeat, everything froze. Just the sound of the road. And then laughter. All of them. I gripped the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. But I didn't say a damn word. Just stared out at the road ahead, pretending I hadn't heard, though my ears were burning. I think they realized I'd caught every word because they scrambled to change the subject real fast. But at that point, it didn't matter. The damage was done. For the next 2 hours, those words echoed inside my skull. Over and over. Rescue dog. So easy to control. 8 years. 8 years of my life, and that's how she sees me? A dumb, obedient mutt? I kept driving. Answered their occasional questions with short grunts, but mentally I was checked out. Gone. When we finally reached the resort, this over-the-top glass sandstone place that probably costs more per night than I spend on my mortgage, Avery and her friends jumped out before I could even turn off the engine. I got out too, thinking maybe I could help carry their stuff. But they already had it. Didn't even need me. Avery didn't even look back. She just flung one more insult at me. Don't forget to wash the sheets before I get back. They stink like you. And then, more laughter. From her. From all of them. I stood there, frozen by my truck, watching people hustle in and out of the resort like I didn't even exist. 8 years. And that's what I got. Not a thank you. Not even a glance. Just a cheap shot about how I smell. The drive home felt like it would never end. 5 hours of empty road stretching out in front of me. No music. No podcasts. Just the ugly silence in my own head. Every little argument, every so-called compromise started playing back in my mind, only now they all look different. Had she been pulling the strings from the very beginning? I thought about how I gave up my weekly guy nights because she said they were immature. How every holiday was spent with her family, not mine, because mine was too chaotic. How that bonus check I busted my ass to earn, money I dreamed of pouring into my project car, ended up funding her new kitchen appliances instead. By the time I finally rolled into the driveway, it was pushing midnight. And the house? It felt different. Colder. Quieter. Lonelier. I wandered through the rooms like a stranger, really seeing everything for the first time. No pictures of my family anywhere. Not a single one. All my stuff hidden away in drawers or closets. Her style stamped on every surface, every wall. Even the damn coffee maker on the kitchen counter, the one she insisted on getting, felt like a reminder that this house wasn't mine. Maybe it never was. When I finally showed Avery the bank transfers matching up perfectly with her shopping sprees and girls' trips, she snapped. Said she deserved nice things after putting up with me for 8 years. And just like that, the mask slipped right off. Gone. What happened next was like watching someone shapeshift in real time. For over an hour, she ran through the whole emotional playbook, crying, pleading, yelling, trying to seduce me, sobbing harder when that didn't work. When none of it moved me, she went straight to threats. Said she'd tell everyone I was abusive, that her dad would ruin me financially, that no woman would touch me after she got done spreading lies. I didn't say a word. Just pulled out my phone and hit play, the recording of her spa trip comment, the one where she called me a rescue dog and all her friends laughed. She froze. First white, then beet red. Next thing I knew, she grabbed my water glass off the table and hurled it against the wall, shattering it. Right then, the doorbell rang. I went to answer it and found Maya standing there, alone, looking like she wanted to crawl out of her own skin. This wasn't some setup. She later told me she'd been parked down the street for nearly an hour, trying to work up the courage to come talk to me. Avery flipped. Started screaming that Maya had betrayed her. But what came next? Man, I never saw it coming. Maya pulled out her phone and showed me screenshots, messages I hadn't even found. Turns out, while they were at the spa, Avery had been bragging about how she was cheating on me with her boss. Not just that, she was planning to upgrade to him once he handed her the promotion he supposedly promised. There were photos too. And believe me, they weren't exactly friendly office selfies. I just sank down onto the couch and laughed. Actually laughed. 8 years. 8 years spent building a life with someone who saw me as nothing more than a stepping stone. Maya looked at me, then looked at Avery and asked her straight up. Why would you do this to someone who treated you so well? She said she'd been feeling guilty for months, watching Avery manipulate and mock me, but hearing that rescue dog comment in the car was the last straw. Avery completely lost it. Started calling Maya every name in the book, betrayer, backstabber, fake friend. Maya just shrugged and said, maybe we shouldn't have been friends this long anyway. After Maya left, Avery made one last desperate attempt. She said she needed financial help to get back on her feet. Said we could work out a separation agreement without lawyers if I just gave her access to our accounts again. I handed her the business card my lawyer gave me and pointed her toward the door. She stood there on the porch crying, this time, I think, for real, and asked me if 8 years meant nothing to me. I told her they meant everything to me. And that's exactly why it hurt so much. Then I closed the door. The last 2 weeks have been a strange mix of peaceful and chaotic. Peaceful because I'm finally starting to remember who I am without someone constantly criticizing every little thing I do. Chaotic because divorce is messy, especially when the other person fights every step of the way. Avery's been pulling every trick she can think of, telling some friends I cheated, telling others I'm having some kind of breakdown. Thankfully, most people saw through it fast, especially once I shared Maya's screenshots. But even so, it's been exhausting. Financially, it's been a nightmare too. She somehow managed to rack up another $2,000 on our joint credit card before I shut it down completely. My lawyer says we can tack that onto the divorce settlement, but man, it still stings. Her dad even called me last week. At first, I braced myself for threats. Instead, he apologized. Said he and Avery's mom had enabled her behavior her whole life, and he was sorry I got caught in the wreckage. Weirdly enough, that conversation hit harder than any fight with Avery ever did. It made me realize something. Avery's probably never going to change. She was built this way. It's been 6 weeks since that car ride. The divorce is moving forward. We're selling the house, and according to my lawyer, we'll split the proceeds minus what she drained from our accounts. Right now, I'm crashing at Caleb's place while I look for an apartment of my own. Last night, I went on my first date since college that wasn't with Avery. Nothing serious. Just coffee with someone a mutual friend introduced me to. It was awkward. A little nerve-wracking. But honestly, it was nice. Nice to sit across from someone who genuinely wanted to hear what I had to say. No games. No guilt trips. No manipulation. I don't know what's waiting for me down the road. But one thing's for sure. I'm never going back to being anyone's rescue dog again. I've started setting boundaries, real ones, with everyone in my life. And yeah, I lost a few friends along the way. Turns out they were only friends with the couple and not with me. But the ones who stuck around? They're the ones who matter. If you're reading this and you're wondering if you're overreacting to the red flags in your own relationship, you're not. Trust your gut. If something feels wrong, it is wrong. You deserve more than being someone's pet project or emotional punching bag. As for Avery, last I heard, she's back living with her parents, crying on anyone's shoulder who'll listen about how I ruined everything. Maya told me her boss dumped her the moment the divorce drama hit. Turns out, he's married too. Karma's a hell of a thing. I'll be honest, there are still moments where I miss the life I thought we had. 8 years isn't something you just erase overnight. But then I remind myself of what the relationship really was. Not the fantasy I kept trying to believe in. And every time I do, I know deep down I made the right call. Thanks for listening, Reddit. You guys have been like a therapist through all of this. I probably won't update again unless something major happens, but just know, your support helped me find my backbone when I needed it most. And for that, I'll always be grateful.